The group arrive in the first layer of Pandemonium. Pandemonium's first layer is Phandesmus, a world of caves and howling winds rushing through, kicking up small items and people, and a deafening noise wailing through the whole place. It makes talking to people difficult, it makes casting spells difficult, it's a constant problem. It's a chaotic neutral evil plane with no natural light, and a gravity that pulls you to the closest surface so you can walk up one wall, up the roof, back round again the other wall again, back down to the bottom of the tunnel. Once there, the group have to tie themselves together to hopefully stop Jess from rolling away and bad rolls rolling the rest of them away. Gazza casts Mordenkainen's private sanctum, and the group head inside. While there, Jess scries Echo, and then she casts Gate to get the group to Echo. Just of note, when you have players jumping all over the plains, I spent a whole week researching the major towns, areas, notable persons, everything about the layer of Pandemonium, only to have the characters portal straight there. The amount, I can't tell you how many times do you put in so much effort and then the players just shoot straight past it. But you bring up one random NPC or area and the characters just lock onto it. It is so hard to pick what characters are going to find fascinating. How many times has this honestly happened to you? So, once the gate opens, the characters step out, and in front of them are two angelic-like beings. Standing in a spacious tunnel in Phlegethon, the third layer of Pandemonium. Here, the wind has slowed down to a gentle breeze, and the gravity is back to normal. Down is down. Echo is a silver-skinned female. Bramen is an emerald-skinned male. Both of them have white, feathery wings. Echo says to the group, "Greetings, travellers. I am Echo, and this is Bramen. I am the guardian of Desayeus' prison. If you are creatures of good, then you will leave us to our task." Which just quick on the uptake is, "We need to access Desayeus' prison to get his essence, to access the Bastion." Jess is cut off by Echo. "This cannot be done. The gods will sort it out another way." "So, which god has put you here to guard this prison, babe?" "Helm has given me this task." "If, no deity can do this, Echo, then it must be left in the hands of heroes, and we are those heroes." "Mortals, I see your desire to do good, but I am bound to protect this prison and forbid access to all, as I have for centuries." "Darling, we won't be entering. We'll be getting you to go in." "You do not understand. I am the gate and the key. I cannot enter this prison." Gazza at this point decides to cast Correspond and cast it to Cord, the deity of courage and strength, valor. In which case, trying to juggle his words and get word count, goes around with, "Rock me, Desayeus, a Charlong, Bastion of Souls, bad smiley face, need help with Guardian." To which there is no response, as the deities are not allowed to interfere with the Bastion of Souls. Gazza has another attempt and recasts it. "Need help stopping a dragon, using unborn souls, need access to Desayeus' prison." No response is given. At which point Gazza now turns to the group. "We can probably take one of the angels." Jess comes up with a plan and casts Screen to make the group resemble Helm. "Very well done. You have passed the test, my children. I must venture in and ensure the rest of your task has been carried out. I employ you now to open the portal." As a level 18 gnome trickster cleric, with a huge wisdom and many feats to buff her spell DCs, Jess convinces the two angels to let the group in. Disguised as the deity Helm, Echo's body forms a 9-foot diameter portal to Desayeus' prison in Agathion, the fourth layer of Pandemonium. Jess tells Echo,
"Close the portal behind me, and I will contact you to open the portal to let me out."
The group walk through, and on the other side of the portal is a cave-like mess. Tapestries have been torn apart. Musical instruments lie broken around the place. Pedestals that once held art have been toppled. 2 Lillian, one male and one female, lie forlornly on the ground, one strumming a lute with no strings, while the other hums a dreary tune. Gazza says,
"They look snaky enough to be evil."
To which case Hot Daniel replies,
"They're wearing, like, these totally skimpy amounts of clothing. So, by sexy gamer lore, they must have really high ACs. Can I chloroform these things?"
Jess looks at them and turns to Hot Daniel.
"By looks of them, I think they speak bard."
Jess, still keeping up her image of Helm, walks over to one of the Lillian and casts Mend on their instruments. Then casts Animate Object on the instrument. The Lillian are overcome with joy as music once again enters their life. The Lillian look up.
"Oh, Helm, why do you grant us these gifts after all this time? Have you come to free our master? Is the time of our freedom at hand?"
Hot Daniel, as the image of Helm, says, lead us to Desayeus? The overjoyed Lillian start ushering the group to follow that they believe is Helm. Passing rooms with other Lilliandi in them, we can see that nothing new has entered this prison, and thereby caused the Lilliandi to lose their muse and become destructive in search of inspiration. One floor is littered with broken pottery that used to be pieces of art. Another has all the paint tipped out all over the floor and is dried, with Lillian just laying there on the floor in the dried paint. With no inspiration to create art, these creatures have suffered the equivalent of death for their species. As the group pass, they draw the Lillian's attention, and they get up and follow in the hope of freedom. Getting to the end of this small section of caves is a dark chamber. A 25-foot tall humanoid lies on his back, with his forearm over his eyes. He is dressed in faded clothing, has a gigantic warhammer, and a glowing pendant round his neck. Gazza spots it.
"We get the shiny."
Hot Daniel.
I want to totally use chloroform on him. We can completely just weekend at Bernie's this guy.
Ben the Rogue separates and starts moving around, and Jess's screen can cover the area of this room. So she manipulates her spell to make it look like 2 more Lillian came out of the ground, and the cover for the other 2, moving about. Desayeus looks up.
"Helm! What are you doing here in my prison?"
Jess, as Helm, jumps on this.
"You, friend, were wrongfully imprisoned. You saw the problems and did something about it. I'm going to close this prison. You were right. This was total BS to do this to you."
Gazza steps up as Helm.
"We need you to go to the Bastion of Souls, and we need you to fight a dragon."
So what this module was trying to achieve was that the characters had to fight good people and defeat them, because these lawful good characters had their own objectives, but the characters had their own motives, and you kind of had to make a decision and fight. Now, my character's gone down the exact same route that another YouTube reviewer came up with. At the time of making this video, there was only one other person who made a YouTube video about this particular adventure. Link above to the Imp and Ogre episode. They came up with the same opinion while they were discussing amongst themselves that why would you fight these people instead of let's do a prison break? That seems so much cooler. the characters will go on forever about the time they teamed up with a demigod to go fight some things. And this is the power level they potentially should be at. So, at this point, my characters came up with the exact same thing that this other group have, and they've said it's the exact same story. Team up with this guy, work together, rather than fight him for what he's got. It's going to be hard. As a DM, I'm going to have to rebalance all my encounters, but they won't forget when they did this. And I'd recommend if your characters come up with the same, consider doing it. So Gazza says his helm.
I'm here to free you, but you need to get into this bag of holding.
And he holds up a bag of holding. So, Gazza's come up with a plan to get Desayeus out. Echo will detect him passing through the portal and may close it. So, to get Desayeus out, we're going to have to hide him in a bag of holding, which is technically a demi-plane. Once out, he should be able to fight a Shardalon for the group, get the other part of his totem back, and then if he stays in the Bastion and defends it, all the other gods might be like, hey, you know what, you're all right. And he may not get kicked back out of the Bastion again or locked up. At this point, Hot Daniel casts Suggestion, Fascinate, and Choir, and gets some backup singers and starts singing a bit of a recruitment song. And all the Liliendi come out and start joining in. Jess has the image of Helm join in and say, you convinced me, dancing along to the tune. And Desayeus is won over by the song that Hot Daniels is singing and dancing behind the group. Jess contacts Echo and tells her to open the portal. A portal appears back at the end, and the Lillian start going through, but Desayeus can't get through outside. Quickly studying the portal and having a good look, they decide for the god to polymorph himself into a mouse and jump into the bag of holding. During that, Gazza casts Mind Blank on him to protect him from any sort of watchful eyes. Then the casters have to use spellcraft checks to see if they can understand the portal, and then all expend a 9th level spell for the casters to adjust it, so they can adjust to allow Desayeus polymorphed in a mouse form, in a bag of holding, walked through the portal. And they managed to do this. With the screen still up, and them looking like Helm, they step out of the portal with the Lillian already out there before him. Echo has been watching the Lillian come out, and turns to Helm and says,
Helm, why have you set Desayeus' faithful free?
It's at this point Hot Daniel's ready to step up and have a go, and rolls a natural 1.
I had something for this. Oh, what was it?
Echo looks at the image of Helm and says,
Helm, you don't seem to be yourself.
Gazza, inside the screen spell, quickly grabs hands with 7 of the others and casts Plane Shift and disappears, also taking the illusionist holding the screen spell up. This leaves Hot Daniel, the Luxo, standing there with a few Lillian left. Illusion gone. Hot Daniel quickly grabs the last of the Lillian and casts Plane Shift and gets out of there. The group has been split up. Previous, though, the group has have a chat about if they ever got banished, what plane they would all go to meet back up with if they all got stuck. And they decided somewhere on the material plane is probably the best. They chose the monk Thaddeus's room at Candlekeep. Gazza's group plane shifts in to the material plane and then casts Teleport to get himself and his group to Candlekeep. He then casts another spell to locate Hot Daniel and Hot Daniel's group and teleports to them. Now, Hot Daniel was just a few miles out of El Terrell, standing there in the distance with its 2 sons. 2 of the Lillian turn to the group and say that due to losing their muse and wanting to re-establish Desayeus as a god, they want to go to El Terrell to spread the word and discover their muse and get back to what they used to be. So they depart, just leaving Hot Daniel and 1 or 2 other Lillian. With that, Gazza portals to him. They hold hands and they all portal back to Candlekeep. Lillian have decided they're going to stay at Candlekeep and won't continue on to the Bastion, as they don't think they're going to be suitable for combat, and prepping the followers and believers of Desayeus is now their new task. And with that, the whole group all crammed back into the tiny monk's room, we end this chapter. Until next time.